Okay, so welcome to another episode of the Path Less Chosen pod, the podcast showing you the careers they don't teach you about in school. I'm Jamie.
I'm Sol.
And today's guest is Serena Chamberlain. She's the founder of a campaign called Let's Get Our Knickers in a Twist, which is doing some amazing things in terms of female empowerment and tackling a really important issue. At the moment, she's been speaking with brands such as Victoria's Secret and John Lewis. She's providing underwear for people across the country and has recently started up her fundraising and awareness raising events across the world. So I think it's going to be a real interesting one.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I can't wait to talk to her about the kind of outrageous marketing that she's going for. That definitely caught the eye, I think, of most people who have been involved in the charity. So yeah, let's get her on.
Thank you very much for coming on, Serena. So just to begin with, tell everyone a little bit about who you are, what you're doing, and exactly what Let's Get Our Knickers in a Twist is.
Okay, so I'm Serena. I'm still at uni in my last year, and about 2 years ago now, I started Let's Get Our Knickers in a Twist, which is a charity campaign providing vulnerable women with underwear. And over the last, I'd say 4 or 5 years, I've been volunteering in women's refuges and doing some work experience with vulnerable women and women's centres and refugee centres. And the one thing that was brought up to me again and again and again was their need for underwear, because people just don't think to donate it. And because you can't donate it secondhand, and the charity shops can't take secondhand donations because of personal hygiene reasons, there's a dire deficiency for underwear for women who need them most. So yeah, I guess we're fighting for that access to underwear to be created. And as we've grown, I've also tried to incorporate women in the community to come together and make our events empowering for women as well. So it's kind of double empowering the women who want to get involved, but also obviously it's for the cause ultimately to raise as much underwear as possible.
Yeah, super interesting and definitely a very poignant topic for sure. So when you'd seen that there was this problem while working in the refuges, what was the action that you took to go, okay, it's time to start a charity?
My mum's always been very much involved in those kind of things, and there's a refuge close, about 20 minutes away from where I live at home in Somerset. And I think there's a really common conception of all these big issues with, a lot of big issues, but especially with gender inequality, that it's all over the other side of the ocean and it's not happening in this country. And I think I live in a really privileged area in the South, and the fact that this was happening 20 minutes from where I live, I think 16-year-old me was kind of okay, this is happening everywhere. And my mum had always done fundraising events and then did a big one because she was what do you most need? And they were Knickers. So she did a big knicker fundraising event. But I was still quite young and I was at school. And then when I came here, I had when I was volunteering in the holidays, I had a really poignant conversation with a girl who was 16, who had basically been through a lot of trauma, and it's also linked with period poverty. So she was menstruating and stuff, but you can't utilize period products if you don't have underwear. Anyway, I had a really poignant conversation with her, and I was kind of okay, it's time to do something. And I'd always wanted to start something feminism based, female empowerment based, but I didn't know what route to go down, and there's a lot of things and you don't want to necessarily do what's done before. So my mum was why don't you just start a campaign, but it might just be a donation drive. So I was okay. And then I came up with the name because I was trying to think of something catchy and a bit taboo that would get people interested. And then I kind of thought it would just be a one and done donation drive of let's try and get as many knickers as possible. And then it kind of just kept carrying on.
I think it's such a fantastic story. And I mean, for many people, just to volunteer in those kind of places is a brilliant thing to do. But for you, you've taken it that one step further. And that's obviously why we're talking today. You've gone down a path less chosen, having discovered this through just volunteering. And now you've gone and created it into a whole campaign. So do you think that's something that you learned from your mum, or is it something you mentioned you'd always wanted to do something in this space? What is it that made you actually do something about it and go one step further?
I guess I'm lucky that I have always had that influence. Since I was younger, my mum's very much brought me up and my siblings to be very wary of issues like that. But I guess I've always kind of wanted to make a change, and I'm a very passionate and at times angry individual at stuff in injustice, I guess. And I Yeah, and as I said, it was just like there's so many things that amazing things that are created, especially at university, like sexual violence campaigns, and like there's a refugee kids club here, which has been amazing, and like I've had some like chats with them, which is really great. But I kind of wanted to do something a bit different, and I think that's why this was perfect, because along with raising the underwear, it's also created a lot of awareness around an issue that people weren't necessarily that educated on. So I think that was the pivotal bit for me, where I was like, God, I had no idea that this was such a big issue. Like, other people need to hear about that. And then, but again, like I had no idea it would grow into this. I kind of just thought it would be a one and done thing. But I guess it shows that you should always try and plan for the future, and yeah, like believe that it can get bigger than it already is.
For sure.
Yeah. And so going back then to when it started, you began it whilst you were studying a university degree. And a lot of people go to university, they just go half to get a degree, half to have a good time and socialize. What were the biggest like barriers to entry? And did you ever consider, maybe I can't do this whilst alongside having fun and doing a degree at university? How did you balance that in your head?
I mean, last year was fine because, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but my first and second year weren't completely academically based. So last year was actually kind of fine because I had no idea that it was going to get like this. I mean, there were times where I kind of feel that I wished I could have put a bit more time into it last year, but I was kind of unaware of, I was like, I don't really know how to navigate this, because I wasn't aware that it was going to become that. But to be honest, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I have found, and I've spoken to a lot of my friends about it, that uni can get a bit, I don't know, repetitive, and it gets to a point where you're either going to your lectures or not, and like doing your summatives, or you're just going out drinking, and it's like quite a repetitive cycle. So even from like a selfish perspective, having something that I could do that isn't just that, and like finding a bit of purpose with that, like having like an extra project was actually really great for me, like having something else, because I just think otherwise you can find yourself doing the same thing every day. And I think it gets a bit of, I've found like just a bit of a toxic cycle. So for my mental health, it was actually really nice to have something else to focus on. I mean, this year, like in third year, since we've grown a lot, and in the last few months, we've really been expanding, which has been great. That's been a bit of a tough balance with uni work, but I find I always end up procrastinating to do this instead, because I enjoy it more, and like I try and justify that in my brain because it's more important in my head. But yeah, it hasn't, I don't think I've had to make too many sacrifices, but I think especially this year it's been a lot more tough to balance than last year.
You say repetitive, wait until you have to get the tube into work every single morning and sit in an office. not to undermine what you've just said, but yeah, I can relate to that for sure. But yeah, so just give us like a brief overview of the actual growth of the charity itself, like or the work you're doing. I don't know if we'd call it a charity. Would you call it a charity? You call it a charity, right?
It's a charity campaign at the moment. I'm now looking at different avenues to kind of whether to register it as a legal charity or to make it like a community interest company, just because it's a lot of work and a lot of paperwork. I mean, I will like have the time once I've left to properly like go into that, but at the moment I was like, that is just a whole another kettle of fish. So
amazing. In terms of charity fundraiser, then so you started it while you're at uni. You spoke about this first fundraiser that you did. Give us a kind of idea of how it's grown. I see some great events you've held. Like, give us an insight into all of that stuff.
Yeah, so when I started, I knew it was really important to try and, well, after I knew it wasn't just going to be a donation drive, I knew it was really important to try and have that first really memorable event to kind of get everyone involved and like spread the awareness. So we came up with the idea of pink pants parties. So for an all women space, just because we were kind of thinking like a lot of last year and in first year as well, obviously like there was a lot of spiking going around. I know that was not only Durham specific, and the sexual violence in nightlife has also just like increased a lot. So like when speaking to my mates and stuff, there's always been times when it's just like, oh, can I be bothered with that again? So I think it was kind of like a 2-in-1 of for the charity, but also like for girls to come together in a safe environment. So we were like perfect, and like everyone came in, it was like wear pink or your pants or whatever, just to kind of let everyone be really free from external judgment and just like have a nice time. So the outfits were just like bonkers, like people wearing underwear over clothes or people just coming in their underwear, like it was super funny. And the entry was like a pair or a pack of new underwear to come in, and it was just in one of our uni houses, and it was just like 70 girls in the house, just like, and it was so much fun, and everyone came away, and we raised, it's such an easy way to raise like so many knickers, and people are so generous. And I think we have done that in quite a few events of like, you have to bring a physical donation of underwear, and I think that makes it really nice for people to be able to like choose what they would necessarily want to wear, and to be able to donate that. It's a lot more personal, and I think it's a lot nicer than just giving a tenner or like donating like money on the door kind of thing. And everyone came away being like, that was so lovely to just have it with women who were like supporting each other, and you're having a really good time, but also for a great cause. So I was kind of like, okay, this is epic. But I was also very conscious that I want to involve like men and boys in the conversation, because that's really important, and that's the only way that you're actually going to make progress. So then we also have had like a lot of events with other uni societies, and I think that's what has been great for us. Is like, I was really conscious about starting it at uni and taking advantage of university clubs and societies and groups, because so many have reached out for us and been like, we want to do this, can we raise funds for you? So a lot of the fashion shows have been great, of doing like boozy beading and like boozy painting, and I don't know, like charity picnics or like quizzes, like pub quizzes, and they've been really great with just being like, you can help organize if you want, or we would just love to have like donations for you. And like the feminist society has been really great. So I think in that way we've just kind of had loads of different events like that, and then the pants parties kind of spread to other universities, which was really great. And that's when I kind of first saw a lot of the growth, because obviously if there's 100 people going to a party, everyone wants to know about it and everyone follows, and then like sharing on social media has been amazing of people. And because it's a bit like, oh, what is this, like underwear, very much pink, like it catches people's eyes, so people always are like, oh, what is that? And then they check it out, and there's always a few people like a bit confused on what it is. Like I've got a lot of people coming up to me in like the clubs like, so, do you run like panty society? And I'm like, yeah, kind of. So it's always a bit of confusion, and people are like, so do you donate old underwear? And I'm like, no. no. Like we've had some like very strange things sent to us in the post, which was definitely not be donated. But yeah, I think as soon as they got spread to other universities, that was I think that was my best marketing move, to be honest. And now lots of women's groups are like Women Who Walk, and which is a Girls Who Walk, who's an initiative all over the UK, who bring women together to like meet new people in their community. Every week they've been doing a lot of events for us, and like girls' schools and like drama groups, and they've all just kind of been messaging recently being like, can I throw one? Because yeah, it's a really fun way to celebrate, I guess, women in a safe space, but also create change. And I think people like to be a part of something as well. Like that's what my mum's always said. She was like, if you give people a space to be a part of something, like they're always going to want to get involved. And I've been astounded by like the amount of support from university students especially. So
honestly, it's unbelievable. Like you say it so flippantly and casually, like we had pink pants parties and it just took off from there. But like actually, if once you get part of the fact that it's a really like out there way of marketing, it's actually genius, because like you can see why people would buy into that. Like even just down to the detail of, rather than paying an entry fee, you donate a pair of pants. I think that's so clever. Is that something like you had right from the start, like a big marketing strategy? Like where did you possibly get that idea from?
No, not at all. I was just kind of like, okay, I need to, after the initial donation drive was over, I was like, speaking to my housemates, and I was like, I think I need to like throw an event, but I don't really know what to do. Like I wasn't really in touch with any of the societies yet. And then one of my housemates was like, oh, we could do like a hockey social or something, because she was like hockey social sec, and I was like, oh, yeah, maybe, but like I want like as many people there as possible. And they were like, pants, and they were like, let's do a pants party. And then we were like, yeah, okay. And then we could not find a house big enough. And then luckily one of my friends who lives in 8-man was like, we'll have it here, and then we can have loads of people. And then from there, I mean, the theme was kind of, I just put like pink pants, whatever you're comfortable in. And then people just turned up with like the wackiest outfits. And I think that's what, when we were sharing all of the pictures after that, I think that was what enticed people in. So that was also like, not just me, but also people coming in what they just thought was hilarious and wacky. And I think that's what really created it to be a bit different. And I think that's the amazing thing about social media and like TikTok, of like sharing those pictures. People are again just like, what is this? But no, it definitely wasn't a big marketing strategy at the beginning. I didn't really know what was going to happen from it, but I put trust in it. It clearly works.
But to echo what Jamie was saying, you've created a marketing campaign that like seasoned marketers would be jealous of. So it's clearly going well. But
yeah.
to you speak about the support you've had from all over the uni, which is great. And I can imagine that comes with the kind of how out there it is, right? But what's the reception been from the university?
I would say the students have been very different to the university as itself. The students have been amazing and are constantly like looking for ways to get involved, and also my friends have been really supportive and blah blah blah. But I mean, I would have always thought that the uni would any uni would want to, and they say that they want to help like cultivate like individuals and what they really love and things that they're passionate about, and especially things that are a bit out of the box. I have been a bit disheartened about their reaction, to be honest. Like, obviously we've got colleges which should make more intimate communities and make it easier to get help with stuff like this. But to be honest, when I first reached out and I was kind of like, oh, can I have like donation boxes in college? Like, could I put some posters around? Like, could we send like a big email about just explaining it? And like, you know, they have those formals, which are ridiculous amounts of money for a dinner in the dining hall. I was just like, could we do a charity one? And I don't know, I didn't get many replies. And then I kept sending, and it was like, yeah, you can put some boxes around college, but like, we won't be able to do a formal. And it's like, okay, like why? And it was like, because they're booked up. And then when I emailed this year again, it was like, no. So stuff like that, which is a very easy way to, I think, raise a lot of money, has been like declined. And I also think like I don't understand what the process and stuff are with that, and but I would always imagine someone would be like, we can't do that, but we can do this. And I kind of think that as a university and there are support staff available, why they wouldn't be wanting to like come up with new ideas about what else you could do and help someone, and not just think that they've got that all by themselves. One thing I will say though is the enterprise department have been amazing, and we applied. They sent an email around a few months ago about applying for a social impact fund, and we applied and got a nice chunk of it, which was really good. And they've been amazing, and not just giving us the money but constantly contacting me again, being like, these are some things we think you should go down, and please will you come and speak to us, anything you need. And I've had a few calls with them about going down either the community interest company way or the charity way. So they've been really on it, which have been amazing. Like they're kind of the first in 2 years, the first like staff members and university directly who have really wanted to like get involved and seem like they really care about it and want to help me, which has been a bit interesting, because I kind of feel that there's so much show of like, we want to help our students do this, or we're really proud of our students this, and they'll definitely post about successful alumni and stuff, but it's like, you should be helping them from the root, helping them create that. So that's been a bit interesting, I think.
What about on a wider scale then? Do you think stuff like that, does that link into exactly why you're doing this? Because there's still, even in 2024, there's still a pushback on these kind of movements.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know whether it is necessarily because it's to do with underwear, or whether they, I don't know, don't have the time or don't fully understand it. I don't know. But yeah, I guess that's always, I mean, at the beginning when there was a bit of like, oh gosh, what is this? Like, is this some sort of like nudist convention? I was kind of like, oh gosh, have I like have I gone down the wrong route kind of thing. But I mean, the amount of like messages we get now, not necessarily just from people donating, but being like, oh, this is amazing what you're doing, like this is an ingenious idea, like I hadn't thought of that. It's stuff like that which really like keeps me going and motivates me. So I think in that, but I also think, again, because it's a bit taboo, it does gain traction, rather than if everything's like the same of normality, you can't give all of those things your attention. So you need to stand out somehow. So it will also help me, and it will also give pushback. Like social media have, like with our TikToks and on Instagram, they've banned apparently we've been banned against some community guidelines. But again, like that's the nature of it. And we've had a few people who want to help out who have said like, oh, we'd love to like help you out on this, but can you maybe like settle down on some of like your more extravagant posts kind of thing? And it's kind of like, well, that's what we are. So if that doesn't align with your interest, fine, but I'm not going to change what we do for people who want to partner, if you get what I mean.
We've spoken a lot about the charity as a whole and the work you're doing, but for you yourself, how are you actually finding spearheading this, potentially spearheading quite a controversial or at least out there campaign? How have you found it, and how have you found the pressure of doing such an important thing, but also the pressure of delivering on it, I guess?
I love it. I mean, I've loved it all, and it has been a learning on the job. But again, like I love all things women, female empowerment, and I'm very passionate about that. So I think what I've really loved the most is like meeting the people who want to get involved, because obviously the people who are reaching out are the people that are really passionate about it. So, and like wanting to help. So I think that's been amazing. I mean, at times it has, I don't know, like people make their opinions of people, and some people may really not agree with that. And at first I was a bit worried about that, but I've never really been one to care that much about what people think. So I think that has done me well. And I guess in these things and mostly in life, you can't really care about what other people think, because the things that are going to go the furthest are the things that I guess that are different. And so I guess I want to just keep taking that on board and not, I don't really feel too much pressure. I mean, I have done a lot of it by myself. Like we don't really have a team. Like my housemate, Lola, has like really stepped in the last few months and helped out. But I think because it's something that I am really passionate about, I get a bit like nervous about giving, like we have reps and things like around the country which have been really amazing, like throwing their own events where they are. But I think I get a bit nervous about giving things out, or like our social media details, or being like, can you speak to this person? Because I've built it up from something so small, and I just want to make sure that people know exactly what we're about. And I always get a bit nervous that people won't like fully understand it. So I think I just get a bit nervous about delegating work, but I do think I need to do that a bit more, because as it grows, I'm sure the pressure is going to increase. But right now that hasn't been an issue, and I've loved doing that, and I'm really proud of it. And like people get who I am, if you know what I mean. Like they go, okay, this is clearly her passion, like, and people might like that and people might not, but I guess I don't really mind.
No, I think it's a great attitude to approach it with. Probably ultimately, you're not going to always be able to do it yourself, but the fact that you want to is a testament to what you're trying to achieve. And to go into like now the future, because it's still in its early days. You mentioned that you're applying to register as a charity, and obviously there's a long future ahead. Hopefully, talk to us a little bit about how you see it panning out over the next few years as you finish university, and how are you like ensuring the longevity of the campaign, if that is your plan.
Yeah, I mean, it was always kind of a bit of like, do I leave it at university and go like, okay, we had a good run? Do I hand it down almost? But I would really love for it to become not necessarily just a university. I know it's not fully university focused now, but do I try and make it a lot bigger and better? And I would really love to. And I think especially when uni work is over, being able to, I think especially as soon as I'm done in a few weeks, and into summer, it will be very telling about when I can put like all of my time into it, whether that will really help expand it or whether it actually won't. So I think that will be very telling to whether it's got longevity, as you say. But I would really like to hopefully apply for more funds, and I think especially funding, obviously I need a job as well, so like I need a job to be able to live. I mean, the dream would be that I would do this as a job, but obviously that comes through funding, and I think I'm also conscious that I would never want to be paid an amount of money that would be better going to the donations, if you get what I mean. If I was just kind of sat twiddling my thumbs and just waiting for things to come in, whereas if that were money would be better to go into donations. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. I'm like, obviously everyone knows what you're trying to say, and I think you got it across there, and it links into kind of what we were going to ask, because ultimately with this pod and the variety of guests we speak to, it's always great when we've had a couple of charity founders on now, and people always ask us, how does working for a charity work in terms of, can it be a path less chosen that you make a career? And how is the balance between like a personal and a passion basically of yours versus like a financial reward pathway? So yeah, it just interestingly, if you want to go into a bit more detail on it and explain exactly how it works, but right now at university, it's not something that's a career and you are looking at another job, but how do you see that playing out in future? Is it a path that you might just be able to stick to and go full time with?
Yeah, I mean, I'd really love to. I mean, I definitely want to go down like a women's charity route anyway. Like that is what I have been applying for. So I think even if I somehow incorporated that into another job I got, like I would love that. But I also think, but maybe I also need some time in another charity, like gaining experience in a bigger company, and then maybe I'd be able to bring that back into Knickers in a Twist to be able, and like need more experience to learn how to grow it. But I mean, if I don't get any offers, basically, I think I will just continue to keep trying to grow it and get it to be as big as possible and be able to reach out. Yeah, I think mainly like reach out to funding and try and hold some bigger events and just get them spread out to spread awareness, because I think the more awareness you create, then you have the people contacting you being like, you should apply for this, or I've seen that this has come up, like, can you look into that? And that's what people have been really good at, messaging us and emailing us being like, oh, you should do this or you should do that. So I think that's been really helpful. But yeah, again, at the moment, I think it is again down to marketing. So I think being able to put a lot of time and effort into marketing to get the message out, because again, that just brings in so many more opportunities. And for me, I'm very passionate about doing something that I love. Like, I don't think that I would lead a happy life personally for myself being in a 9-to-5 that I don't enjoy. Like, that's not something that would push me and keep me going. And I've always struggled with like concentration and ADD, and I'm not very good at concentrating on things that I'm not really passionate about. So I think in that sense, I would always want to do something similar. And sadly, in the charity sector is really underfunded. So I wouldn't be making loads of money for a glamorous lifestyle. But I think I'd much prefer to actually do something that I really love and care about, to be honest.
I think that's a really important message to finish on. So just to go into our final question, if we go back to when you were first in the refuge and spotted this as an opportunity for a potential campaign, what we're interested to know is one thing you would do the same, one thing you would do differently, and one thing you would tell yourself to motivate yourself.
Okay, so I think do the same is actually how much time I have put in it at university. So I feel I've actually had quite a balance. Like, I've been able to create a really good balance in my mind, and I don't think I've had to sacrifice my university experience. And I think I was listening to one with the other founder, and he very much said that he felt that he did. And I think I haven't actually had to do that, which I'm glad, because I'll look like uni only comes around once, I guess. So I'm glad that I'll be able to look back and say that I did make the most of it. And now hopefully that can be my sole focus. So I think the amount of time I've put into it, and also being able to just like take time for myself away from both uni work and the campaign. I'd say I've done pretty well. I think there's been times of stresses, obviously, but and then one thing that I do differently is I think like ask for more help and not just think that I can do it all by myself, and like being able to just delegate as well. And I think that is also partially because I didn't really know what it would grow into. So obviously if you haven't got work for multiple people and you've only got enough work to do yourself, then obviously I initially wasn't thinking about having to do all that much work on it by myself. But I think as it grew, I probably should have thought more about creating a team and bringing in other people to help out as well, because obviously the more people you have, the more ideas, more opportunities. So I think that is definitely something for the future, to create a team around it and properly delegate work and not just try and take it all on by myself, I think. And then one thing to motivate me, I just think like the amount of support I've had from friends and family, but also people just like female support, especially coming in through our social media and through our emails, of people just sending like words of encouragement and just being like, thank you so much for all the work you're doing and you're making a really big difference. And also from a lot of speaking to the women at the refuges, like when I go back or when I drop the parcels off, like them just being like, thank you so much, you have no idea how much like one pair of underwear is going to mean to me, or like providing a week's worth of underwear, because again it's something that everyone takes for advantage of the whole time. So I think those conversations of being like, this really changes things for me, stuff like that is like the reason that I keep going, I guess.
Perfect. Couldn't have finished it better as well. Thank you very much for all of that, for the whole episode. Really insightful.
Having me.
Clearly having a massive difference, and it would genuinely, I think, break Jamie and I's hearts if you walked into a corporate career having spoken the way you have in the last 40 minutes.
Okay, so, I won't do it to you guys.
please don't. But yeah, it was great to hear about all of it, and we wish you all the best with the future and the campaigns and all the parties. So yeah, great to chat.
Thank you so much.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, another fantastic episode. I thought Serena shared some really important messages. Amazing to have another charity founder on, but for her, she's obviously doing something very different and all around female empowerment. And I thought her passion for it and her desire for where she wants to take the campaign to came across really, really well. So in terms of key takeaways, one that I took away right from the start, which I'll just throw out to begin with, is that she said the purpose of doing it at university and having that extra project or side hustle, if you like, was just actually really good for her mental health and just to avoid repetitiveness. So I think that's a really important message, because anyone listening who's either at school or university and maybe is a bit bored by the whole lifestyle of it, especially at uni, she mentioned just drinking the whole time, etc., and you want a little bit of something else to keep you engaged with it, then maybe start a side hustle or a side project or campaign like this, and who knows where it might lead you.
Yeah, superbly summed up. Couldn't agree more. Make sure, at least if you're doing something that you feel like needs to be done, then doing something on the side that gives you purpose is definitely going to be great for your health. My second one would be is knowing your value add or your worth or your like unique selling point and being very clear on that. She knew that what she was delivering was something a bit out there, something a bit outrageous, in support of the campaign. And when people came to her and tried to deviate her off that, saying they get involved if she changed their campaign, she said no. She knows exactly what her purpose is and what she's trying to get at, and she didn't want to change from that. And I think knowing what brings you success, either personally or in something you're running, and sticking to that vision, I guess, is going to stand the test of time, I think, over wavering demands you might get.
Yeah. Would you look at that? I don't think it's been a while since we've agreed on one, but I actually had written down pretty much exactly that. It was summed up by like the fact that her TikTok, they're getting banned for breaking community guidelines, but for her, It doesn't bother her because it's exactly what they're trying to achieve. And that's why she's turned down opportunities that have tried to temper their marketing, because she knows actually it's best just to stay true to herself. Okay, great. And then maybe a third one is links into what she said right at the end, but also earlier on, where she said the one thing she'd do differently is ask for help I found that really interesting because earlier on in the episode, she'd spoken about how she really struggles in terms of like delegating, and she feels like she's responsible for everything that the campaign is doing. Whereas actually now she thinks that if she went back to the beginning, if she could ask for help, the charity and the campaign might be in an even better place than it is now.
And I think, it's easy to say from our perspective, but I'm sure you've had something which is yourself, like you've owned in the past, and you don't want to give delegation of that. But actually, I think for these things to grow, not only advice, but also with actual help on the day-to-day operations of what you're wanting to do. So that delegating authority and trusting people in both advice and operations is key.
Perfect. So to summarize those 3 key takeaways, the first one is that having an extra project, whatever you're doing now, can be good for your mental health. The second one is to not be afraid to create a new norm and break guidelines, and ultimately the things that go the furthest are the ones that are different. And then the final one is be ready to ask for help and delegate, even if you're reluctant to do so because it's your own little baby.
Yeah, another great episode. Great to get a fellow Durham alumni on, and really looking forward to seeing where she's going. To support her, then we've got a load of links in the bio. You can support all the stuff she's doing. Give her Instagram a follow, and looking forward to the next episode.